Welcome
That was weird.
to yet another edition of the Stats and Stacks podcast, where we're not going over UFC, baby. It is NFL season. And if you haven't noticed, I am not riding solo today. We have the cream of the crop with NFL analyst, young Bungles fan himself, Tyler Robertson, is in the building. And if you watched the pod last year, there were a lot of bold proclamations and a lot of them came through. So, this go around, last year we did NFC. This year we're just looking to push the AFC. But it's been a year. How you doing, Tyler?
I'm doing good. The girl there that started this meeting, does she always do that for you when you start your recording? And she came on with like an Alexa, like your
Oh yeah.
meeting is. Oh, I was like,
You
we have a special guest with us. No, doing good. Ready for football season, obviously. I feel like we picked a lot of winners last year. Through a lot, like if people would have bet our division props, our win totals, things like that, I feel like you would have hit a big chunk of money. And I'm bad personally. I've already done some of my season long betting, like MVP prop bets, and we'll get to those in a little bit. But I was bad last year. I tend to look at these, but I rarely get action on like season long props because I like the immediate payouts, and so I forget about season lines. But really, this is the biggest edge that you'll get, right? Because if you like the quote unquote, teams that the public are down on, it's a huge opportunity to take advantage of the market. And then also vice versa, if you think a team's overrated in the market, you can smash that under. So this will be a first look for me on win totals. All I know is you yapping about the Jets win total. I'm interested to see how that has changed since the Mom Slayer got himself injured. But it'll be a first look for me. I'm ready to go.
It's crazy. I was thinking about the last episode. The biggest debate we had was, I said I thought the Rams are good enough to win the Super Bowl, and you yelled at me to bet it. You said, if you think that highly on them, why are you not betting it? So you're not going to bully me into it. And God, was I wrong? I should have fucking bet it.
That's what I'm saying. And I'm guilty too, because I'm obviously I'm a Bengals fan, and I have high hopes for the Bengals. I have high hopes, really, every year that we have a decent team. I'm realistic in the fact that I know when we're bad, but when you got a quarterback like Joe, and for instance you with Josh, things got to go right, but chances are you're going to put yourself in a good spot. And if you got a feeling on one of these teams, even if you're just throwing a little flyer bet out there, if you got a feeling that a team could ship it all, now's your time. Unless you expect like a mid-season collapse and late season uprise where you can get some good odds, now's the best time to get your action in, especially I guess you could say on teams that aren't exactly favored. The Rams weren't favored last year to win the Super Bowl by any means, start of the season, but if, for instance, you're looking at like a Bills or whoever else is at the top of the rankings, it may be smarter to wait till they go through like a regular season losing streak, because every team does it, right? Every team has a little panic moment throughout the season, but stay away from the top odds right now, and then kind of get some in-season betting there. So we'll hit what are we going through? The division total, like the win totals for each team?
We're going to go through the win totals, and then at the end, we'll kind of give our picks as to kind of like our best bets going along the way. And honestly, I was taking a look at it, and I refused to look at the totals first. I went through each game and kind of deciphered what I thought that team's total, like how many games I thought they would win and what's realistic. And then I took a look at the total, and sometimes these numbers surprise you a little. And sometimes I feel like we should be odds makers because we were spot on, but that's why we need someone like you to kind of talk us through, kind of figure out what exactly is the best bet. Cause I'm on edge with some of them. The first one, actually, we'll just dive right into it. The toughest division in the AFC is 110% the AFC North. Everyone's aware of that. And I mean, while the while the iron's hot, we're just gonna strike with the Bengals, baby. I mean, right now, I'm assuming you already took a look at what their win total is.
I have no idea what their win total is. Truly no idea. If I had to get, but the only thing I do know and about the Bengals, because I obviously already bet them division, conference, Super Bowl. I bet them across the board, but I didn't bet the win total. But when I bet them, I don't know what their current odds are to win the division, but I had bet them right after Deshaun Watson signed with the Browns.
Smart.
I bet them at plus 240 to win the division. So, and that was putting them third. So maybe their win total sits around 9, if I had to guess, 9.5. But obviously you can tell me what it actually is, but that'd be my guess.
Well, Mr. Robertson, there's a reason we have you on the show. The Bengals win total is 9.5 games this season.
I mean, usually, yeah, that's about right. Yeah.
And I think it's disrespectful. I don't understand that.
It's 1,000%. Like, bias aside, it's like you're given, and we'll talk more about the division, here as we go through the teams, but how can you tell me that a team that only got better? I mean, we didn't lose anyone of any significance. We upgraded and when I say we, I'm talking about the Bengals. I'm associating myself. We upgraded our weakest position, and yet we're third, and I don't know if it's still this way, but we're third to win the division at 9.5 win. I feel like, and granted, it is a tough division, so I would assume that the AFC North is a lot of taking shots at each other. But I mean, these guys, outside the Browns, they just have this weird thing with the Browns, and maybe it'll be different now that Baker's gone. Baker was like a Bengals slayer, but I just don't see why you wouldn't bet over 9.5, like for the defending AFC champs to win over that total game. I mean, this is a legitimate 11-12 win team to me.
And I'll tell you what, it did flip. You guys literally took the spot of the Browns. It was Ravens, Browns, Bengals. And then as soon as the hammer came down on Mr. Watson, that's when it just flipped entirely. And now you guys literally switch place and you have the second highest odds. So, I mean,
Can you explain that to me? Because I like, obviously, Bengals fan, I may have some built-in bias. Why is a quarterback, like all the Browns got is Deshaun? I mean, what did they gain outside of Deshaun?
That is a great question.
What did they get outside
what
of
Deshaun? What did they gain?
I
mean, they were more or less retention, like signing Chubb long term.
But exactly.
But they haven't gained anything.
But why? So why is their acquisition of a quarterback that hasn't played football in 2 years put them ahead of the defending AFC champions? And I wouldn't consider that like Bengals fluky by any means.
No,
like we have, like legit QB1. No, I'm not saying legit QB, like number one quarterback in the league, but like
no, he's top tier.
No, like top tier quarterback. I mean, I would argue they have the best receiving core in the league. I would argue that their defense is extremely underrated. And the acquisition of Deshaun just puts the Browns over the Bengals. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Like, how to make it make sense?
I saw the Browns at 11 and I instantly bet the under. So I don't.
What was their win total at?
When Deshaun first signed without anything, I saw it as high as 11.
11 freaking games from the Browns.
I didn't hammer the under, but I did place one without thinking. I don't even think the schedule.
What do you mean you didn't hammer? If I would have done that, do you have a 401k? I'm serious. 11 freaking games.
Yeah.
That means they have to win 12 to cash the ticket. You push it 11.
Yeah.
That is insane. I mean, that.
I do think.
I know we're talking about the Bengals.
No, I hear you.
I know we're talking about the Bengals and it kind of rolls over, but you know how last year we had like our best bets. That is my best bet. If you can, there's no way you can still get at 11. Zero chance. What is it at now?
It is at 8.5.
Okay, before we transition to their 8.5, because you did say they flipped. I'm all in over Bengals 9.5. I think they're legit 11-12-1 team. Obviously, and keep in mind, people, when you're betting these season-long things, football, the biggest thing in football, and I mean, this is really any sport, health is a huge determination of how these go, because, one injury to the wrong person, and when I say the wrong person, you're talking primarily the quarterbacks, but then also your impact players like the Bengals. If they lost Jamar Chase and T Higgins, I mean, that'd be a significant blow to them. But yeah, you gotta get lucky with health if you're betting overs. But really, if with the core intact, I think they're a legit 11-12-1 team.
I'll tell you what, I am not a Bengals fan by any means. I don't hate them. I like the Bengals. Everyone is the cool, hot new team. Always, obviously, with you guys being Bengals fans, I rock with the Bengals a little. Before looking at it, just looking at their schedule, I have them at 13-4 is where I listed them. I think that is highly realistic. You have a tough end of schedule, but the opening your early schedule, you play a lot of teams that were good last year that are like the Titans, and you play people like the Dolphins, that technically the Rams, like the Cardinals. I mean, these guys aren't, sorry, the Cardinals was a preseason, excuse me. But at the end of the day, these teams aren't that good anymore. They've lost a lot, and I think the Bengals got better. So I'm with you. I'm at 13-4. 110% will have Bengals over. 110%. It's too low at 9.5.
Yeah, I agree. You want to transition to the Browns then?
Going straight to the Browns. Since we're halfway through it, I'll be honest with you. I have the Browns at 6-11. That's where I have them statted at. So I already have one. I might double dip on the Browns under. 12 games is a death sentence. There's no physical way Jacoby wins more than 5. And Deshaun's
your book should be asking for forgiveness from you. With that, with the under 11. I mean, seriously. I mean, they should be begging to say, "Hey, can we pay you out at times 1.5 rather than whatever odds?" I mean, that's a stone cold. That's a lock.
Did you see their Super Bowl odds when Deshaun first came?
Oh, it was
like the third favorite.
That's what I'm saying. It's absolutely insane. And you look, I saw a graphic the other day, and it was it listed all the AFC North champions since 2010, and literally the only team that's missing is the Browns. And Bengals, Ravens, Steelers are multiple time champions since 2010. So the Browns are literally the definition of little brother in this division. Just there's no chance of them. But for some reason, every year, people, I don't know why people get so excited. And maybe it's one of those things where they're so bad that people are just asking for them to be good. Oh, this would be cool. Because the one year they threw a parade for going winless. It's one of those things where people hope and pray that they're good, but they're just not good.
I personally don't understand that. I am all over that under. They just, like you said, they haven't improved. I have no idea where they improved. Even if you want to consider Deshaun, 4 games is not or what is it, 5 games now with week 18. It's not enough. They're going to be dead to rights. It's too late in the season.
I mean, they freaking franchise tag David freaking Njoku.
Who I'm growing on in fantasy, by the way.
I'm a David Njoku guy. but that really, when he was tight end 3 at sometimes last year behind Hooper and Harrison Bryant. It's
Amari's injury prone. So what, you're going to run out Donovan Peoples-Jones, Jacoby Brissett, Anthony, or what is it, Schwartz? Yeah, it's a disaster waiting.
We shouldn't even bet any other thing other than the Browns under. That's just, they're horrible. I saw a video of, they were asking Jacoby Brissett, how hard is it for you to not be Deshaun Watson? He's like, oh, trust me, it's not hard for me not to be Deshaun Watson. Who would want to be Deshaun Watson? That's no thanks. But pass on them. I'll take hammer the under.
Well, here's one that really confused me. I need you to walk me through the Steelers, because I don't think they're as bad as people project them to be, but their over-under is a weird number. It's set at 7.5. Can I see the Steelers win in 8 games? I can, but I don't really want to put money on them winning 8 games. They're a weird, that defense is going to keep them in games, and Mr. Trubisky is not that bad. I'm telling you right now.
Granted, I don't think he's their starter all year.
You think they switched to Kenny?
I do, but I mean, it's if Trubisky takes the job and runs with it, I don't. But I don't. And I agree with you. I don't think he's that bad. But this is a complete stay away from me, because I would argue a lot of people talk about, when they talk about the Steelers, they like Deontay, and this is speaking fantasy wise and kind of correlates to the betting markets and whatnot, but people are down on Deontay Johnson, Claypool, Freiermuth. They're down on all of them, but I don't understand why, because I mean, you take Ben Roethlisberger from last year, and you replace him with Mitch Trubisky, I think you're getting double the quarterback that you had last year. And what they win last year? 10 games, 9 games?
They were the 7 seed. They had, I think it was 9.
God, they were in games.
Yeah.
I can't get a read on them either. It's a clear stay away from me, but I do think they're sneaky. I don't think they're as bad. Like if you had to have me take the Steelers, the Browns, like head to head against each other, I would 100 times out of 100 take the Steelers over the Browns.
Even with Deshaun.
Oh, even with Deshaun. Yeah. I just, that's how down I am on the Browns, but I am unsure on the Steelers. Like, I think they'll be in a lot of close games, and it'll just depend on whether they, win the tight game, because I can't see them blowing anyone out, and I can't really see them getting blown out just because their defense will keep them in games, and it'll be how they do in clutch moments, and I'm not confident enough either way to kind of determine that. So I'm going to stay away from the 7.5. But if I had to, like, if you were doing one where you bet every team in the league, I would bet over 7.5.
I would lean the over, and honestly, as much as you'll probably hate to hear it, I kind of lean over on the Ravens as well. The win total for the Ravens is 10.5. Every year you have that team that is just decimated by injury. Listen, the Ravens won 7-8 games last year with their third string players. I think that, one, their schedule is a little easier since they were so low. Secondly, I don't think they're that bad. I know they lost Hollywood. I'm maybe a little too on Rashad Bateman this year. Same with Mark Andrews. I love both those players, and Lamar's just going to run regardless. So, granted, if he doesn't get hurt, it's not that he's injury prone per se. I know his style is kind of frightening, but I don't hate the 10.5. I'll probably take the over.
I think 10.5 is rich, because if you're taking, who do you think wins the division?
I think it's 50-50.
Oh, yeah. I forgot that you got this is like had to be some sort of bet that was people are betting the Bengals and Ravens both to win the division. I say people take a stand on which one, because you're not really gonna. I know you made that bet. I know other people that have made that bet, but I don't like it. It would not blow my mind. Like, I wouldn't be completely shocked, as much as I hate to say this, if the Steelers won the division. Like, I wouldn't be like, that is the most shocking thing that's ever happened to me. But obviously I don't think that's the likely outcome, but I think I'm going to go against you here. I think 10.5 is rich for the Ravens. I mean, I don't know. I'm not sold on Lamar's style of play being healthy for 17 games of the year.
I don't think he has to be. I don't
think Tyler Huntley could come in. You think Tyler Huntley could come in and win 12 games?
I think he showed that he could come in, as long as it's not a season-ending injury. Lamar has a hamstring for 2 to 3 weeks. With the right matchup, I think Huntley would be fine, and I think he showed that last year.
But their defense isn't like a terror like it used to be. I mean, granted, they had injuries to the defensive backfield last year, but they're not the terror. I mean, I would have to look at their their
So you know what?
roster.
I'll do a really quick run through for you, and I'll just show you that they're gonna go on a run. My biggest thing is that I have them splitting with the Bengals, and I think that's where it hits over because
That's a
again,
bad
gun to my head, I have the Bengals winning the division. I have the Ravens at 12-5. I had the Bengals at 13-4. So I had the Bengals with one extra win. I think the Bengals win. My thing is they have a last place schedule. So you look at their schedule, the Commanders, the Jets, the Dolphins, the Patriots, the Bengals where I think they split, the Giants, like the Panthers, the Jaguars.
I think they can. Again, their team. I don't know. I'd go under on them.
Falcons. Oh my God, they're playing a last.
Okay, the Falcons. I mean, we all play the Falcons. Bengals.
They play the Browns twice. Like I think you guys are going to be.
I think they can split the Browns.
You think they split the Browns?
Division games are always weird. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, we ran through the Ravens last year. Like ran
Yeah,
through
that was odd.
like I mean, Joe Burrow put up, like when I'm saying ran through, because Terrell Suggs made some comment about how the Bengals aren't all that, and Wink Martindale was like, "Hey, don't put a gold jacket on him yet." And Joey B goes out there. Joey B goes out there and puts up 525 and 5. It was, and I mean they were pissed because they were like running the score up. Like it was like 41-0, and they're like, or 41-3. I mean, some oblivious. I forget the exact score, but it was. I mean, they went out there with intent, and people got mad. Like, and people, I don't really understand it because the Ravens. I've been in attendance where we're on the wrong side of that. Like when we were bad, and I think I forget who was our quarterback, but it wasn't Joe. And I mean, they ran it up, and people got mad. Bengals run it up. I'm like, no, if they're gonna talk their talk, and we'll go out there and put 48 up on you. I mean, we ran through, and there wasn't any team that took a beating to the Bengals like the Ravens did last year. And granted, I mean, they were hurt. But in Baltimore, before all their injuries, I think Jamar Chase is Marlon Humphrey's daddy. Like he went. I mean, he went for like 200 plus against Marlon Humphrey and just said bye bye. I just don't think the Ravens are all that. I mean, outside of Mark Andrews on offense, who do they have?
Rashad Bateman. I'm big on him.
Oh, okay. Rashad Bateman.
I'm big on him, baby. I think he's a sleeper. I love Rashad Bateman.
I'm not talking, but okay. How many people, like, how many casuals know who Rashad Bateman is?
That's how you win championships, baby.
Oh, shut up. We're not talking fantasy football. I'm talking actual playmakers. Like, if Rashad Bateman is your wide receiver one,
it's not my ideal, and I'm not saying that the Ravens are gonna win the division. I just feel like if they get their starters back, I think with the schedule they have, I think it is just a matter of they were gifted a schedule due to all the injuries last year. If half the players come back half as good as they are,
it's the NFL. If you got to be good to win 12 games. I don't care. Like if you play the Giants all 12, I mean, you got to be good.
I mean, let's see.
You can't just be okay and win 12 games because your schedule says you can be. I mean, bad teams will. I mean, Bengals got beat by the Jets last year. Who'd the Bills lose to last year? Jaguars or something? Like the bad teams will win games. It's not like
okay. Do you think the Ravens were good last year?
No.
They won 8 last year with that lineup. They just need to win 2 games. I think.
No, you said what you said.
Sorry,
3 games.
3 games. I think. Sorry, I forgot about the half. 10.5. So I think they can.
You said 11.5.
No, 10.5.
10.5. I mean, not.
I said I think they win 12 games.
That's a stretch for me. I'm under.
All righty, we'll see. That's not what I'm willing to bet, though. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.